Hello everybody, welcome to a brief overview rules explanation of King's Guild, developed by Matthew Austin and published by Mirrorbox Games. King's Guild is a 1 to 6 player kind of competitive resource gathering game, where basically on a player's turn they can do one thing. And what they choose to do is a huge part of the strategy of King's Guild, because you might have a plan in place and then someone else takes their turn and your plan is out the window because suddenly all the things you wanted to do are no longer available to you. So first things first, what you'd want to do is you want to gather resources to build items so that you can get paid so that you can make your guild stronger. So the basic resources are metal, wood, leather, and cloth, and you'll use those in pretty much every recipe that you have to craft, and over time, as you start earning more money and you start buying buildings and specialists, which we'll talk about in a minute, you'll be able to buy things like the gem workshop and the magic arcanum. I think that's how you say that word, and that'll let you gather the gems and the magic potions to make some of the more potent crafts that'll get you a lot more money and a lot better treasure. So on our turn, we can do one thing. So if I don't have any resources and I don't have a lot of money, what I'll probably end up doing is gathering. Now when I want to gather something, I can either take 3 of one resource or 1 each of 2 different ones. So let's say, for example, I want to help this guy here crush the Orcish rebellion. Now in order to do that, I have to get a wood and a metal. Now, let's say I take my turn to gather that wood and the metal. Everybody now knows that I'm going for something. And now those you'll just place on your player board, and my turn is done. So now it would be someone else's turn, and then let's say they go for, say, 2 cloth. Maybe they want to help this guy claim the Briar Eye gemstone. So they want to make his cloak. So they might gather, we'll say 2 cloth. We'll stick that over there, but because they're gathering the same thing, and because maybe they want to make the market a little harder to crack into with cloth, they might just take a 3rd one just to have it. Because when the resources are gone, they're gone. So if we run out of metal, there's no metal left on the board until somebody spends it. So if you have the storage, that could be a strategy you want to employ. But now let's say it gets back to my turn and nobody has helped this young lad crush the Orc Rebellion. I'm going to spend my turn to take these 2 resources, pop them back on the board. We have these little guild sigils, and when I finish the craft, go ahead and put my little stamp on there. And then I'll collect the card, and I can show you again. It's got these little symbols in the top, which we'll talk about in a minute. I'm going to get a blue treasure and 3 coins for this. Now the coins in King's Guild are the little bronze one for 1, this little silver guy for 2, and the gold crown for 5. Now I'm only making 3 gold for now, so we're just going to pop that right there, add that to my pile, and then I get a blue treasure. So I'll pull the blue treasure from here. It says hire a specialist at any time for whatever their gold cost is. So it doesn't really help me in that respect, but if on someone else's turn I want to say, hey, before you take your action, I'm going to hire that specialist that I've heard you talking about. Or I might just want to buy them whenever, maybe just to steal one. But I'm just going to keep that. Typically I'd keep it face down, but for you guys I'll keep it face up so we can just kind of remember that I have it. Now, my turn is done, so it would go to the next player's turn, and we'll draw another quest to fill in the slot that I finished. And let's say the Craft Collective, they're going to spend that 2 cloth to make that cloak. They're going to gain 3 gold for themselves. And then they're going to get a treasure, but they're going to get a yellow one. And the yellow treasure, fantastic, is a relic. So there are 6 different types of relics in King's Guild. And as you can kind of see down there, those little blue numbers are victory points. So for each different relic you get like almost exponentially more victory points out of it. So they're going to have an ancient shield, And if you can get all 6, that's a real big point swing, but you can only have 6 cards in your hand. So you kind of have to balance having all 6 relics versus being able to do things like hire a specialist when it's not your turn. So let's do, at the end of the Craft Collective's turn, I'm going to use this. So I'm going to discard my contract and hire a specialist. I'm going to spend 5 of my coins to buy the Thug. If someone else wants to craft an item on that card, they have to pay me 2 coins. So my Thug token is on the card over here, but the actual Thug himself has to go somewhere on my player board that has one of these symbols. So because I'm playing as the Holy Order, and their special room is the Shrine, I can have an extra specialist. Now typically, if I was playing as any of the other guilds, I would place my specialists in these little squares up top. So ordinarily you can have 4. At that point, we will flip a new specialist. So because I bought the Thug, we're going to make all the specialists to the right of where the Thug was 1 coin cheaper. And that's to incentivize people to buy them before they're gone. And then what will happen is the laborer will fill in the spot that the Thug was in, and we'll get a new specialist in the form of the tailor. And something I forgot to mention is every specialist is going to have a coin cost and a victory point value. So we've seen the 3 different actions that you can take on each of your turns. So let's say I'm going to craft the staff for recover the Kingsire's remains. So I gather my 3 wood, I place that on my little player board, and I go, perfect, I'm ready to go. But let's say the Craft Collective then gathers a metal and a cloth. So it looks like they're going to make the gauntlets on the other side of that. So what happens on my turn is I spend my 3 little wood branches here, and I take one of my sigils and I place it on that staff. I'll immediately get paid for the craft that I completed, but the card stays where it is. Now it's the Craft Collective's turn. They have a pretty interesting choice. They can either finish the gauntlets, get their 4 gold, and then get first pick of the treasure, or they can leave my guild sigil stuck on that card until I finish the gauntlets myself. Both of these are fantastic strategies because I only have 2 sigils, and if I place both of them, I'm unable to work on any craft that requires 2 items. And that just allows the Craft Collective to run rampant, build as many things as they want to, and I'm stuck kind of just twiddling my thumbs over here. Because it could be the case that on the Craft Collective's turn, rather than building that, they just take 3 more cloth. So if they take 3 more cloth, I'm locked out. I can't build those gauntlets, I can't get my sigil back. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that they decide not to do that. And they take their metal and their 2 cloth, and they take one of their sigils, and they complete those gauntlets. They'll get their money. They get 4 coins for that. And then this card gets dispersed. So as the first player to put a sigil on there, I get the card. But as you can see, there's a yellow and a red treasure that's going to be earned. The Craft Collective gets to look at both of those treasures, and they get to pick one for themselves and give the other one to me. Now since they already have a shield, they're probably going to let that one go. Alternatively, they might want to just sell it for 2 gold so that I don't have a relic. So as we mentioned before, on each of these little quest cards, so as I mentioned before, each of these quest cards is going to have 2 or 3 symbols on it. They could be like this little sword, the 2 flashing daggers, a chess piece, a helmet, or like a magic fireball. And each of those has the potential to be included as a building reward, kind of like this. So late on in the game, when I've got a whole bunch of coins at my disposal, because I've been a good crafter, I might buy the Hall of Cunning. So for every set across multiple cards of daggers and magic bolts that I can put together, I get 6 victory points. So I might want to buy that because for my 2 quests, I already have 1 pair. And that'll get me 6 victory points. So let's say, just for fun, that I had 17 coins that I was willing to spend. And these 6 victory points are sounding pretty great to me. So I'd buy that building from the top, and I get to place it anywhere adjacent to an existing structure on my player board. So if I want a free metal, I could place it here. If I want a free cloth, I could go here. But I kind of want to rebuild my money stores because I just spent 17 coins. So I'm going to place it here on this little sign right here that says I get 2 free coins. So anytime you build a building on your little player board, on one of these symbols, you get whatever is shown on there. So if it shows a leather, you get a free leather. If, however, there's no leather on the board, you get nothing. So you really got to time when you build those things. Now each of these buildings can be purchased once, and when it's purchased, they're gone. Now, when we've been crafting, we've been going through all these things, we get further and further on in the game. When you're about halfway through, this little card's going to come up. It's going to say the king's funeral. So the king has suddenly died of his illness, and everybody takes all their coins and secretly bids an amount. So, since I just bought the Hall of Cunning, wasn't really paying attention to how far into the game we were getting, I only have 6 coins available. The Craft Collective has a whole lot more. So, to be safe, everybody secretly bids their money. I'm going to bid all 6, but the Craft Collective has more. So if they bid 7, they get this little building right here. It's called the King's Statue. They place it anywhere on their player board. As long as it's legal, still has to be built next to another structure, and they get 4 free victory points. I didn't win, so I get all my money back. The player who got it spends all that money. It goes back into the pool. And when you get through all these quests, or rather, when all of the quests are displayed, this final one's going to come up. It says, an offering to the council. Now, every player who has a sigil available can place it on their turn as their action on this offering quest. So we'll put that down there. Now, if you put your guild sigil on there, if you have one available, you get 2 victory points. And then you can turn your money into victory points as well for every pair of resources that you have. So let's say I have 2 leather left over. I would get an additional victory point. So at the end of the game, you're going to tally up all your victory points. You're going to get 1 victory point for every quest you completed. So that's each of those little quest cards that we've been working on through the whole game. You're going to get points based on your specialists. So each one's going to have a value. Same thing with the rooms that you've built. You'll tally up who's got the king's statue. If you made an offering, you get your victory points for every 3 gold. If you have a pair of resources, that's an additional point. And once you've done all that, whoever has the most victory points wins the game, becomes the new King's Guild, and elects a new king. Don't forget to check out our video where Joel, Ben, and I give King's Guild a 3-player run. If you have any questions on the rules or anything I may have gotten wrong, go ahead and let us know in the comments below, and we'll get back to you. And in the meantime, keep playing games, guys. See you later.